Okay, James, we'll go ahead and turn the time over to you.
Okay. Hello everyone. Appreciate you coming out just for an hour on your Friday night. Um, Nettie, you keep unmuting. There we go. Shane Pyle, you're unmuted. Um, what I'd like to know is some of the newer people who have never been here before. What do you do for a living? If someone wants to just come forward.
I'm a window cleaner and musician.
Window cleaner and a musician. Okay.
Yep.
And do you have any assets like home or anything of that nature? Do you rent or what do you do?
Yeah, we rent.
You rent. Okay.
There are a couple of vehicles that are in my wife's name.
Okay. So everything's in your wife's name?
There's the vehicles. As far as I mean, other assets like music equipment and all that. Does that count?
Okay. Do you create your own music?
I do. Yes,
Okay. So you'd like to protect that, correct?
absolutely.
Okay. A trust will do that. You won't necessarily need a PMA at all. Because if you're just washing, if you're just wash, I mean, unless you're washing windows at people's homes. John
That would
Szymanski, if we
definitely help
can, there we go. Do you wash in their homes or is it a commercial business or what is it?
I specialize in high end residential.
High-end residential. Okay.
Yeah, so you need something like that.
PMA would help.
Absolutely.
I kind of wish I would have done that when I was way back when. It was because I used to hang wallpaper. And I did that for like 21 years. And if I would have had a club that people could join, then I could start, showing them different ways to decorate their homes. But we didn't even know what websites were back then. So back in those days. So yeah, a PMA would actually help you guys a lot, especially if it's reoccurring. People could have a monthly membership type situation where you could show up a certain amount of times. Nettie Trotter. Yeah, let's go ahead. If you guys could, Shannon, if you could, thank you. And Heath Norris. For some reason, they're coming in unmuted. It's really weird. But anyway, especially if it's high end, folks like that do understand what that is. And you can do a monthly thing, show up once a month, wash their windows for their and give them a cheaper price on the membership fees. It's something to where you can get business all the time. We used to do there was a lawn service and you would get a certain amount, have to pay a certain amount per month. This was in Florida. And in November, December, January, and February, there was no business, but they got a cheaper price during the week or during the summer months. This is just an idea. They got a cheaper price during the summer months, and but they had to pay through the winter months to keep the guy in business. So if you have a low part in your business where you're not getting as much business, that's always really good for if you give them a cheaper price for the monthly payments. Those are done through contracts and memberships.
That's great because we're in a lull right now, usually in July, towards the end of July, and all throughout August, towards the end of August, right before kids go to school, or after kids go to school. All the moms call in and get their windows cleaned, which is usually what we see every year.
Okay. So hold on. Oh, right. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do that. Okay. I'm going to ignore this. Okay. So is that helpful to you? Is that something that you could possibly do?
Absolutely, that sounds like actually what I was looking for. Something like I just didn't know what this was.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what this is.
That's great.
So, I started an idea called Genoa Institute. It's not actually an accredited institute; it's just a private membership association, just like any private school is. But I can't get accredited anywhere in the States because they don't teach what I teach. None of them do, not even Harvard. Okay. So Harvard Law School refuses to teach private membership associations. We're the only ones in the country that have classes that teach you not only get you the trust itself and the PMA itself with all the paperwork and everything else that you need, but you go through classes to learn how to operate them. No one else does that. Most of them just hand you the paperwork, anywhere from $2,400 to $6,500, and then boom, they're out of there. Have a good day. They don't teach you how to run it. You just have all this paperwork. You just have to read it and then, try to figure out how it goes. So we're there all the time. We have a group on Telegram. And I answer questions and things like that on how to run these things. And I have a bunch of classes and paperwork or booklets you can read too. Some of them are really short, it's like 2 or 3 pages long, but it gets the point across. So if you want to learn or really learn it, you read it once, you set it down, go off, do your thing, read it twice, read it 3 times. And once it starts sinking in, your mind begins to change. Your thinking begins to change because you're going to be thinking like a guy who makes a lot of money. The reason why I say that, this is what normally happens. I'll say Trump, just for an example. Trump does not ever buy a car. He'll never buy a car. They'll never buy buildings. He doesn't buy property or real estate or anything of that nature. What he'll do is if the property is there, he'll buy a trust. And that property just may be on a Schedule A. He'll fix up the property and then sell the trust for more. There's no capital gains tax on trusts. There is on real estate. That's how the man operates. That's all of them operate. These are not tax loopholes. It's just how they wrote it. Okay. A private membership association is autonomous, which means it's independent. Okay. Their independence is very specific. It operates outside of state statute. So if you want to call it sovereign, you can call it sovereign if that's what you want. It's basically autonomous and independent. Now, there's a story that has just come up about an Amish guy who has been getting harassed by the FDA. Okay, it's gotten onto YouTube. Man's getting a lot of hits because of it. Everybody likes a sob story. However, I listened to his story. Within 10 minutes, I figured out what he did wrong. He has a private membership association. How is the FDA getting involved with him? Okay. How do they do it? It doesn't make any sense. How come the FDA is regulating his business? How did the FDA get in there, take all of his property, which was all the meats that he had, and he was selling to people, and then go throw it in the dump? They did it with a U-Haul, by the way. Okay, I watched that this morning. I could call that guy and say, look, man, this is what you did wrong. Number one, you contacted the FDA. You were bringing your animals. You were slaughtering, pigs and cows and all that. Cost about $500 for all the ones he wanted slaughtered. And he went through an FDA plant to slaughter it. So it gets inspected and everything else. That could have been recoverable. In other words, you're not necessarily giving them jurisdiction. They're performing a service. The FDA is. Okay. So that's not a jurisdictional issue. He started talking too much. He was running his mouth and he was telling them what he was doing, which was none of their business. Then he started asking them questions. Is it okay if I do this? And is it okay if I do that? Now, what that does is it transfers liability. The farmer, the Amish guy, started asking him permission to do things. And when he did, he said, please come over and regulate my business. And right after that same day that had happened, they did it. They got a warrant, came in, took all his stuff because he started transferring liability. What we teach is independence, independent thinking. Okay? Most people here were raised in a communist socialist country where you have to tell everybody everything, or you think it's okay to tell everything about your business, about what you do and everything else. Everyone turns around and is constantly looking for somebody else's permission. Is this okay? They're looking for approval. Happens all the time. In a private membership association, there's no such thing. You do what you do. He went ahead and told these people, I'm going to go ahead and slaughter these animals myself and send them to my members. That was none of their business. I'm going to tell you why. And this is how it's legally done. Okay? You have a thing called a contract clause. The contract clause says that no state can make a law to impair the obligation of a contract. So that means when you're operating under a private membership association, you're operating under contract, not statutes. Now, what that means is that when Mr. Copper comes through your door, if you're doing something that you shouldn't, in their mind, you shouldn't be doing, their badge and power and everything else stops at the door. Because when they walk in your facility, they are now under the bylaws of the private membership association. And the bylaws will say, if anybody comes in and trespasses and tries to take any property, they're under arrest. Yes, this has happened, and yes, it goes through. And it is enforced. One guy was he was running those a medical place where they had those frequency things, you could hold on to these two probes, and this machine just throws electrical stuff through you. Well, the health department comes in, the guy walks in and he starts packing up his stuff. He goes, "What are you doing?" And he says, "So we're closing you down. You're not operating under a license or anything." He says, "You're damn right I'm not." He said, "Did you see that private membership association sign in the front?" And he said, "No." And so he walks him out there and says, "You see that right there? And you see that at the door? It says members only. When you walked in my facility, you came under the bylaws of this association." So the guy's face starts changing. And he says, "Now you're under arrest, and I'm going to go ahead and sentence you by suspending your job for 30 days and your bank accounts." He wrote that in the minutes of the meeting, sent it over to the prosecutor, and the prosecutor had zero choice but to enforce it. Because why? Because contract is what they call law of the land. Not statutes, contracts, private agreements. That's the way this world goes around. This is why can't they get those Clintons? That's why. Clintons run foundations and things like that. You can't bother them with that. They never get investigated because they're protected by the contract clause.
James,
Yes.
I have a question.
All right.
If the government comes in and mandates the wearing of masks, vaccinations, stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
you talk to and let them know how a PMA and trust can protect them.
Okay, doing your own business, they can't touch you on that. That doesn't apply. Because why? Because there's no mandates. There's no such thing as statutes. You're not operating under under the legislature. You're operating under contract, and the legislature cannot create a law that impairs any obligations of those contracts. They can't do that. Every judge will tell you that. Well, we go to the contract because the statute doesn't exist in this case, because we're dealing with contracts. Okay, so in your own facilities, you don't have to go buy those stupid masks. Now, if you've got like Walmart, stuff like that, you go into these stores and they start freaking out because they're doing the mask stuff. So much easier just to order your stuff and go pick it up. It really is. You order it online and you just go pick it up. They come out, put it in your car, and you go home. Solves a lot of problems. You would not believe the discounts you get on a car that's registered with insurance. In other words, if it's registered in a trust, the insurance is absolutely nothing, because they're not registering, they're not insuring the driver, they're insuring the trust, and the trust can't do anything wrong. So they know the liability is there. Cheap as you can possibly imagine.
How does one transfer registration from the United States DMV system to trust?
To the trust, okay. It's simple. I think Dan Webster did it a couple of weeks ago. Just the same way as you do anything else.
Minutes.
Yeah, it's all in the minutes.
Okay.
And then you do public notices. There's also a way for you to cancel a birth certificate. It's very easy to do. There's forms that have that happen. Okay. And you can operate through trusts, PMAs, LLCs, all that. Nothing's in your name. You just move on like nothing is happening when it comes into any legal trouble whatsoever. The clients that we've had have run into some serious stuff. One guy had a bar. He operated 2 blocks from the governor's mansion, believe it or not. It's right down the road, Capitol building. And he ran a bar, and he started buying he was buying his beer and all of his stuff retail. He had to cut out the wholesale business. They wouldn't come to him without a license. So he said, okay, no problem. I'll just go ahead and buy it and serve it to my customers. I just have to raise the prices a little bit. He operated through the whole pandemic, just like that. They couldn't come into his business. They couldn't do anything. There's nothing they could do. They couldn't shut it down. Cheryl Weicker had the same issue. She was a dog groomer. She calls me, Keith, they're trying to shut me down. I said, what's going on? I got the stupid licensing people down here trying to say that I have to have a license to groom dogs. I said, okay, very first thing you're going to do is on your gate, you're going to put members only. Well, that stopped the guy the next day. And after that, we set up a PMA for her. She stayed open. She was the only dog groomer in the state of Michigan that was open. The sheriff was bringing his dog over there during the pandemic. He'd stop, drop the dog off. She'd trim the dog. It's as simple as that. This stuff works because that's what the reason why it works in their system is because of the way the Supreme Court operates. The Supreme Court operates in their opinion. When they hand that down their opinion, that is what they are saying the law is. It's like in an Orwell 1984 movie. The right answer, 2 + 2, the right answer is 5, because that's what we say it is. So it's the same thing in a U.S. Supreme Court. Whatever their opinion is, that's what the law is, believe it or not. And they took that power in 1803. And they've said many, many times, private membership associations are autonomous and cannot be regulated by federal or state law. Unless you're doing something that's nefarious, which means you can't steal. You can't murder people, can't rape women, can't do all that stuff. You can't traffic children. All that stuff causes you to your immunity to be removed. So essentially what's happening is you're gaining immunity when you're doing your business. Now, people will ask me about taxes. Well, the ones we create are called tax neutral. by the way that they operate. If you say tax neutral, nobody bothers you. You're not saying you can't or can, or that you have to or you don't have to. Because why? That same rule. If an IRS agent goes past your door, they now are under the bylaws of the organization. And if they're under those bylaws, the IRS code gets kicked out the window. Now they're there in their individual capacity. Simple as can be. It's there. It's simple to understand. And what we do in the minutes and through those times is we're teaching you over and over again. Learn privacy, privacy, privacy. You don't have to tell people anything. You don't have to get their approval on how you do your business. The only ones that you need your approval or you need approval from are your members. They're the ones that are supporting you. They're the ones that are taking care of you as far as that's concerned, and you're taking care of them. It's a mutual thing.
So through the Geneva or the Genoa Institute, then all of your training is going to talk about how to reduce your tax liabilities by protecting it under the private membership association. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's the minutes. You're operating the minutes in a PMA are like a key to a car. Car's not going to go unless you have a key. And the same thing's going to happen with the minutes. If you stay within the purview of your business and you're operating under that capacity, then that is what keeps your immunity alive. If you walk outside of that capacity, then you're on your own. If you know what I mean. So if you write in there, anybody that comes across, say, a bylaw, anybody that with a uniform that comes in that is not invited, and they're there to cause harm to the business, then you can write in the trustee and or president of the PMA has the right to do this, 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 and this. Then that bylaw is there, and then it goes along with the minutes. So and so came in. You can pop an affidavit in there, send that over to the prosecutor, and they have no choice because one of their people came in and contracted with that uniform on. So it's catch-22, double-edged sword with prosecutors, because officers operate and they they're professional witnesses is all they are for the prosecutor to see if he can have a case so he can create bonds. That's all it is. As simple as that. And if his people are not educated on private membership associations, some of them can get burned pretty bad with what that. Imagine walking in a place and just because you walked in it, all of a sudden you don't have access to your bank account and you don't have access to your job for 30 days. Imagine what that's like. You can't pay your bills. You can't buy food. You're done. And independence and independent thinking is where we go. And that's what we use in the trust booklets. If you get the whole package, the trust and PMA package, and the trust booklets, for some reason, when people read those, it changes the way they think. And I think it's because it causes their mind to become more independent, to pay attention and listen. You're going to learn a whole lot more if you listen than you do if you're talking.
Heath Norris has a question in the chat. He said, in quotes, by your door. Is there something specific to a structure, or can you post at the driveway or somewhere on the property to cover the whole compound, as it were?
You can, you can put it. I told Cheryl Weicker to put it on her gate. She had a gate out front, and it's like it's in the city, so it's like a little picket fence gate, you know. And she put it on the gate. She didn't allow them to come to the door. So how far do you want them to go? You're establishing your boundaries here. Remember, it's an autonomous organization. It's an independent organization. It's like an island unto itself. So if you want people to come to your door, you can put members only on the door. If you want them to come just to the front on the sidewalk where they're allowed to be, and you want to put that sign right there on the sidewalk, then put it on the sidewalk or next to the sidewalk in your yard. You can put it on your the top of your garage door, wherever you feel comfortable and how fast or how far that you want them to come up on the property.
Talking about property, how does it protect, I mean, you've talked a little bit about how it protects the home, but how can you protect like your mortgage? How can you protect all your assets, your cars, your vehicle, and even your children, your families?
Okay, there's a CPS. There's a thing called, we'll start with the children. There's a thing called, I created one in 2014. It's been working ever since. We were the first ones to come up with this idea, which is a private membership association where your family is turned into that. Okay. Number one, the protections that you can get from that. The private membership association as a family, in other words, if you turn your family into a PMA, you can call it the Johnson Association, however you want to call it. You'll get a logo, you'll get copyrights and everything else. What that does is it turns your family into an association, and CPS only has jurisdiction over families. They don't have jurisdiction over PMAs. It also shows you how to set your house up and how to organize the family and how it operates. It's interesting to read it. We've put it up there. That comes with the PMA that we the commercial PMA. So that's free. That goes with it. Well, it's not free, just involved in it. Okay, and the other part of the was how it protected your property, right?
Yes.
Is that what? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, not only your family, like your assets, your guns, your vehicles, equipment, computers. How will it protect that, including your business and business practice?
The PMA does that by just simply being a private membership association. If you want to do another arm's length, you get the trust, put all your property into a trust and lease it to the PMA. So that the liability of that is on the trust, where is a non-disclosure. It's a non-disclosure on the PMA too, but where there's a non-disclosure on the trust, you don't have to divulge who's the trustee. You don't have to divulge anything as to what that trust is and who runs it and who's the trustee. And so you're going to have a really hard time trying to figure out how to serve somebody. I'm telling you, there's a lot of people out there that do slip and falls just to get business. And Walmart is very familiar with those. They're called the $10,000 client. Every time somebody does a slip and fall, they write a $10,000 check, give it to them, and it's away they go. It's easier to do that than it is to go to court and fight them. However, if you have a trust, you don't have to deal with that issue. The only reason why Walmart has to deal with it is because Walmart's publicly traded. Okay. So if you have a private trust and private trust owns that business, it can own the PMA. It can own anything that you have. Then you operate under limited liability.
Okay. And how can the private membership association, how can that significantly increase your profitability?
You don't have you don't have to support the state nor the feds. It's a mom and pop organization. 1930 or 1925, there were I think it was 95% mom and pop stores, 5% big corporations. Now it's the exact opposite. 95 large corporations, 95%, 5% mom and pop. Okay. They used to start a lot of co-ops back then. That's what protected their mom and pop stores. So they didn't have to spend 5 months out of the year just to pay their federal taxes. Now, Why is that? Why does that operate that way in a private membership association? Number one, if anybody asks, it's a tax neutral organization. Number two, you can get involved in a lot of charity. If you're doing very well, you can go ahead and give to the local dog pounds to feed the dogs and feed the animals, stuff like that. Your name gets around. Number three, and the IRS can't come past that front door in their capacity of the IRS. So they cannot get any evidence that you're actually making any money. Like I said, keep thy mouth shut. Whatever you don't tell people, they won't use against you. It's as simple as that. Back then, they didn't have to do any of that kind of thing. They didn't have to support anything except for that what they wanted to support. So if you had, if you had an orphan problem, or if you had a dog problem, a cat problem, whatever problems there were around the locals, the county areas, they would give their money there and support all that. And then nobody ever asked that question. Now you're going to have people around the internet. A lot of them have stolen a lot of this information, and they came up with the idea of starting a 508c1a. Okay, if you want to put yourself on a radar, make your organization a 508c1a, because you're accepting a benefit. Once you're accepting a benefit, or if you put an EIN number on it from the IRS, you have just given your property over to the IRS. And you've lost your whole immunity, everything you got. So you have to remain autonomous. Now, if you go, you can use a Dun & Bradstreet number. A lot of people like to use those numbers because they're autonomous also. Matter of fact, the military uses it all the time, especially when they're privately contracting.
Okay, so replace essentially Brad and Dunn Street number with the EIN, so you're not using the EIN number to run your business.
Right. You can use that DMB. There's a lot of people, especially because the Dun & Bradstreet organization is not a bad organization. What they're doing is they're having businesses use them with the Dun & Bradstreet number to do contracts with local, state, federal, all that kind of stuff. They use the DMB. A lot of creditors, like if you want to do banking or anything like that, will try to get a hold of you to get credit cards and stuff like that. And there's a lot of net spend cards like that you can use as a bank. So you use a DMB number.
Okay, James, I think we covered everything on here, but we'd like to give the people that are on this to be able to give them some time to be able to ask some questions. Are there more things you want to cover first, or you want to open it up?
It's easier if I know what they're needing, so that we can show them if we can help them or not. If we can't help them, I'll just tell you I can't help you.
Okay. If you would like to make a comment, go ahead and in the chat, just put the number 1. And then we'll just go down that one at a time for all those that have a question.
Jason was quick.
Yeah, you good? Take a couple questions then.
Jason,
Sure,
go
man.
ahead.
Okay, so I actually have a few. When it comes to personal income taxes and tax liability, is there anything that changes there on how we would
Meaning-
file?
If you want to file individually, that's fine. If that's what you want to do.
Well, I'm just wondering okay, so I have two businesses that my wife and I run, operate, and I'm wondering, would something like this, how would it affect the tax filings? Especially if we changed out the EIN number. When it comes to even like with our corporate taxes.
Okay, it now operates as a PMA, so the corporate taxes would cease because it's no longer a corporation. You would be lying.
Okay.
You ever notice that the IRS always says, when you submit this, it's under penalty of perjury?
Mm-hmm.
They love that term, right? So what they do is if you've turned it into a corporation, yes, the corporation will have to pay taxes. If you turn it into a private membership association, there's no such thing as a private membership association tax form.
Okay.
So there would be no form you could fill out.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Have you seen individuals, or have you heard of individuals that have created a PMA for their business and utilized the DNB identifying number
Yes.
to obtain crediting even with a bank or anything like that?
Yeah. Seen them do it.
Okay.
There was a lady down in Florida that was doing that. She owned a restaurant, and she likes to start restaurants and give them away. I don't know why she's doing that, but she'll start them, make her money, and then help other people out with by giving the business to them. And she does that with the DNBs.
Got it. Okay.
Some other people just really aren't that ambitious to get a DNB number to get all this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see that. Is there any crossover? So I have a trust already. So what benefit from a personal, as an individual, what would I have outside of my businesses, would a PMA have for me that the trust doesn't?
The trust is more private, and it's more direct. So say you had a trust and you were doing business with that trust. Okay. That makes there's no arm's length really there. You're just directly working with the public.
Okay.
And you really want to kind of set that back and put a storefront on it, which is a PMA. If you follow what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you're using a business trust and stuff like that, there's no legal protections there. There's no nothing. It's just you're doing the trust. They can sue that just as easy.
Okay.
However, if there's a PMA in front of it and they have to become members, highly difficult unless there's some serious nefarious acts going on, like you're stealing children, or you're running a sex ring, or whatever you're doing. Okay, and your PMA, that would get you into some deep trouble. No matter what you're doing. Okay, a PMA and a trust won't help you at all. However, if you're just running an honest business, which is what we were trying to do from the beginning, which I was seeing a lot of people get screwed over bad, and they're really good people, and it would just, some guy would come along, sue the hell out of them, and then they're out of business. So why would he do that? He's just stealing equity is all he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew about these from a couple of years earlier, and I said, well, I'm just going to start this. So we started out helping out people that were running an honest business.
Okay. How long
and it became a asset protection type business is what it ended up being.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
For sure. I can totally see that. Yeah. How long have PMAs been around?
1803. I think. And before that, the Dutch East India Trading Company did this. Okay. Today, the Dutch East India Trading Company operates a lot of the ports in the world. It's done by one guy. He's an ex-monarch, a Dutch ex-monarch, and he runs everything. He's out here. He's the one that big bull in front of in front of, what is it? The stock market.
The financial district down in New York.
Yeah. Yeah.
too,
Okay.
yeah.
The big bull, that's him. Okay. He runs all the ports. So that's how they get these other countries to comply with things, because when the bankers want them to do something, and they won't do it, they just get a hold of this guy and he closes their ports. And they can't get anything in or out, and they'll starve them out until they comply. They did that in El Salvador.
Okay.
That's how they do it. Okay. So what I'm saying is that those were all done by private contract. And that's why the governments can't get rid of his ports and him owning those ports. It's gone back that far. Let's go back even further. When they came up with the straight gate and narrow way, okay, that's all contract. When you're going for salvation and you go find Jesus, that's a contract. If you say this, this, and this is the contract. So it goes back that far and even further.
Okay.
That was a contract between the father and Cain when he ate Abel, Cain and Abel. There was a contract with him that he would protect him. He would protect Cain, and that's been since that time.
So, okay, so you mentioned a few individuals too that have experienced encounters. One of them was the FTC you mentioned and so forth. And it sounds like they've had favorable outcomes to some degree or another. But are you aware of any others that in certain jurisdictions they're having problems fighting it?
Fighting what?
Well, I'm just wondering if there's other scenarios out there that you're aware of too, where certain government entities are finding loopholes or ways around the protection of a PMA.
No, they actually are not. They're believe it or not, I was very surprised. I thought that they were running over this Amish guy's PMA. They weren't. He opened the door to him. Now he's trying to get a lawyer to shut the door again, and it's not working. The FDA is literally running his farm because he asked him to. He didn't realize what he was doing, but that's what he was doing. He started asking their permission to do things. Then I started acting like he was big and bad and say, oh, well, we're a private membership association, so you can't, you're not going to come in and tell us what to do. Well, shouldn't have been talking to the PMA or the FDA in the first place. And should not have been telling everybody that he's going to go ahead and slaughter the animals himself. He should have just done it and shut up. His customers all like him. And then what he's doing, they didn't care whether they were going to an FDA slaughterhouse or not. So you have to keep your mouth shut. Just do your business and you're fine. If you start trying to make some kind of stand against something, that's when they nab you.
Okay.
That's
All right,
usually what happens.
I appreciate
We've
that.
got some other questions here that we need to get answered. So did you have anything else, or can we move on to some of the other questions before we run out?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. So the next one is Heath Norris. We're going to open the time for Heath.
Yeah, he wanted to know, I heard you say your PMA can get a Dun & Bradstreet. Yes, you can do that. Your trust can even get a Dun & Bradstreet number. It does not mean that you're saying that you're giving somebody jurisdiction. You can just use that because that's what the contract is. So go read the Dun & Bradstreet number contract first before you get one. Then you'll know what you can do, what you can't do with it. What it does is actually really pretty cool. It helps. It's a link between arm's length between you and anybody else, your PMA. And if they start using it against you, or some kind of regulation changes or something like that, you can always go ahead and dissolve it with the PMA, because that's not what you signed up for. You can actually get rid of a contract by a contract breach. So there's other, if you're running your own thing and you're doing your own thing, there's a lot you can do. Just don't ask them to take over your PMA.
What if they try to force association with you or try to force traffic with you or try to put you in court when you say that you own your property in a trust?
Okay, yeah, I'm just telling you guys, we haven't had those issues. Especially if it's in the local newspaper. Well, there was a guy up in Washington. He was he ran a poker house and he was selling liquor and all that kind of stuff. I said, look, man, I said, put a members only up there. Went ahead and got him set up as a PMA and everything else. And these people just kept coming in and screwing with him. But when the PMA started, they stopped. They had to. And then he go, well, we don't like you selling liquor. He says, I don't sell liquor to my members. I sell the glasses to my members. I give the liquor away. That was it. No more problems. Issue was solved. And every single one of these have done the same thing.
Isn't that how they used to run the old speakeasies?
The what?
Like the old speakeasies?
I can't understand that word.
Speakeasies, like their little clubs that they'd have, like the mob guys and stuff. They'd have their little
Yes,
like
in New York.
Yeah.
In New York, that's what they did. That's how they sold. That's how they got liquor around there and got around the alcohol laws. Is they started to go into these clubs, and that's why mob guys sit in clubs all day.
Did you have any other questions there, Andrew?
I was asking one that was similar to what Bobby was saying, but like, what would you say you get pulled over, and what would one say to the Crown agent if you got yourself set up with a PMA and a trust?
Okay, if you have that all set up and you want to do that, all right, I would highly suggest you do Form 150 if you're going to do anything. That's the direction I'm going in.
Form 150, is that the one that you showed the other night, Wednesday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would highly recommend you do that because that's the only thing I think is going to make it give it some teeth. I'm sorry, SF 152.
Where can I get the form?
I can put it up on which group are you on? Are you on the Rain Citizens group?
Not yet, because I'm not Rain Citizens yet. I'm still.
Oh no, it's just on our regular group. That's all.
Like the temple chat.
Yeah, we can do that. I'll put it up there. Yeah, it's SF form 150. Now be careful, guys, before you do these forms. Make sure that you're operating as a PMA or something else and you know exactly what you're doing. And like I said, you might want to use the Dun & Bradstreet route to be able to operate and not have to, shut everything down, where you can operate like you normally do. Because that thing shuts everything down. I'm trying to tell you, that form does. So that's the next step that my PMA is doing, is going to that next step. But I want to make sure everything is in place. So do a lot of praying, do a lot of thinking, and make sure you know what you're doing, because once that form goes in, you're gone. Your name is gone. The system does not understand who you are. So you're going to need to have some kind of declaration of another name or something of that nature. Just like I'm going here. I'm going one step at a time. I just got the house done last night, and been putting documents up there on the temple thing. So sorry, folks. There's some other guys here that we also work with. So And these guys are working, they're a little bit more advanced when it comes to the PMAs and all that. So they're moving on to next, like getting out of that system. So
We have a
didn't mean to get
question.
off. Yeah, I didn't mean to get off the subject. So
We got another question by Alex Zafferson. I hope I said that
Zafferson.
right.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for doing this, guys. I appreciate it. Appreciate your time. I just wanted to ask, like, you mentioned that the PMA can be protection unless you're doing something nefarious, but you also mentioned that, like, you know, Hillary is using this kind of thing and, you know, they're not coming after her. Like she, you know, they're using like all these private, you know, organizations to operate. Like what determines, you know, a nefarious act? Like, I guess in their eyes, you know, it's just like, is that something that they can move you know, can they move that line at all? Like what, you know,
Yeah.
obviously
Hillary's a different kind of evil.
oh no, I
Okay.
know.
That
I'm just
woman, I
wondering,
mean,
like,
I'm surprised that woman just doesn't walk around on fire. Okay. Because
someday soon.
yeah, Alexa refers to her as a serial killer. I'm not kidding. Just ask who Hillary Clinton is on
What the
Alexa.
heck?
Yeah. Because
freaky.
she's killed over 158 people that we know of.
I was gonna say that we know of, yeah.
Right. Okay. So what determines a nefarious act? The coroner. You get
What's
a hold
that?
of the coroner. The coroner does.
The coroner?
Yeah. Whether there's been a murder or a suicide.
No, but I mean in terms of like you said, we can have protection under a PMA unless we start doing something nefarious. Like, obviously I'm not trying to do any of those things you listed, but I'm just wondering, like, what is determining what is nefarious, you know, when it comes to litigation and things like that? Like what gives them the basis to like cross that line?
Okay. I have an example of that on one of the booklets.
Okay.
And it goes through everything on what nefarious is and what happens there, what you have to do. Say, for instance, there's an example of a say you're running a campus. Okay. I don't know, you're creating widgets, you know, whatever you're doing. And then somebody gets hurt. That I would cooperate with any type of investigation, because there's one of two things that are going to happen. You're either going to be found guilty of something, or you're going to be cleared. So if you didn't really do anything nefarious, you didn't mean to do it, it's just an accident, that's going to show up too. So that you could use that to show everybody, hey, we don't do anything wrong here. This was an isolated incident of an accident. Because you're not going to set up your policies and your minutes to purposely hurt people. Okay. And they have to be careful as investigators not to go too far as their investigation is concerned. You're allowing them to investigate, but that doesn't give them free rein. You've got leashes on them. Don't go here, don't go there. This is isolated to this particular incident, and anything else you find doesn't go on the record. We're not allowing that. You're going to violate our privacy and our right to contract. But we will let you investigate everything that pertains to this particular person and if they were injured or not. You see, you can create the terms and conditions by which you're investigated. And so if you're honest people, that's when it comes out that you're honest, especially with a PMA. If you're just a family and an individual, they're going to come after you and they're going to take all kinds of liberties, and they're going to try to frame you as best they can, because they got money coming in on that bond. That bond they're getting ready to sell through the state. So that's what you got to watch out for. Or you can say, no, we're not going to allow you in here at all. You're going to have to get a warrant because you got to have probable cause to come in here. That's when warrants become warrants. In other words, when they went after this Amish guy, they did in fact go get a warrant because they had to, because he was a PMA.
We have a question by Shane Pyle.
Okay. What's up, Shane? Is he talking?
Well, I have a question.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
Shane, can
Shane?
you hear us? We can't hear you, Shane.
He does have an.
He does have a question in the chat. Says
Oh.
using a family trust to protect your kids and family from vaccines, ... Also working for Fortune 500 corporation, make it mandatory for vaccine.
Okay. I know everybody has a lot of these issues. The family PMA does that. It's not the family trust that does it. It's the family PMA that will do that. That will protect your kids from the family, from vaccines. That only applies to families. So if that association decides it doesn't want to involve itself or recognize those vaccines, which by the way have been found out to be actually stamped by Pfizer and Moderna, and it was actually a military operation that did this, military organization that created these vaccines that are killing people. A PMA has a family PMA has the authority to have its own medical department under its own bylaws. I told you, these organizations are autonomous. And if it's been determined by your medical department that the vaccines are dangerous, then these other organizations have to comply with that. Because your bylaws says these are dangerous, so none of our members are gonna be involved in that. And the medical department or health department locally just kind of walks away.
So you can have your own medical PMA within your family trust. So
Not the family trust. No, not the family trust. It's through the family PMA. If you read the family PMA, it came with the PMA that everybody gets. If you read it, there's a lot of hints there on exactly what you can do. You can have your own Department of Transportation. Now, somebody says, well, we want to get our cars out of DMV. Well, fine. Start your own DMV. Because all DMVs are private organizations. They're private companies. And they operate under Dun & Bradstreet. So if you have your own, and you even have your own inspection department, but driver safety and all this kind of stuff, then you can issue your own licenses. I knew one guy that was stopped. This was about 12 years ago. He was stopped, and he wrote down, he says, do you have your license? He says, yeah, sure. So he gets a little pad and says, I have I have permission, or I give myself permission to drive this car, and then signed it and gave it to the cop. There's nothing they could do. He gave himself permission. It was simple as that. But you can run a completely private organization that does all these things. If you have that issue, start your own DMV. I mean, all they're doing is stealing your intangible property rights to the use of the public highways. That's all that's going on. I'll say that again. They're stealing your intangible property rights to the use of the public highways by licensing you. I'll give you, for instance, this is the license issue, guys, because I know everybody has that problem. Okay. Intangible property rights. When you go to a store and you're sitting in, whether it's Walmart, Home Depot, whatever store you're in, okay, and you come out of that store and you're looking for your car, why would you look for your car? That's the whole question. Nobody ever questions these things. as to why they do things. They just do them. So if you're looking for your car, the reason is because you have intangible property rights to the car. Intangible property is the same, is different from tangible property. Tangible property is the car. Intangible property is the right to the car. Two separate properties. So the difference is from stealing a car and not stealing a car, and everybody recognizes this everywhere, okay, is you have intangible property rights to a particular car. If you take somebody else and you don't, those intangible property rights do not exist, then you're in fact stealing the car. Now, when you license something, and I've been trying to get this going with a lot of people to start bringing this up. When you license something, they have to give you something, or you have to give them something to license it back to you. There's no property. Your intangible property right to the road, to the public highways, which everybody has equally, they're licensing that back to you. But here's my question. When did you transfer your intangible property right to the public highways to the DMV so they could license it back to you? They cannot ask that question or answer that question because they can't. It was never done. That's the driver's license issue. In other words, in fact, and in the whole legal system, there is no such thing as a driver's license because nobody's ever given their intangible property right to the DMV for it to be licensed back to you and to be regulated. They can't regulate the car. It's your car. They can only regulate your intangible property right to the car. But that was never transferred. Think about it for a while. That's all. Think about what I'm telling you. I have an actual whole show about it, about dealing with that issue. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with children. If children, you have your intent, you don't actually own your children. Obviously, our Father in heaven owns the children. It's a gift to you, okay, through Jesus. If that's the case, all right, that means those children do not belong to you, but you have intangible property rights to them in order to have to take care of your title as husband or father or mother. Okay, so what does the court do? They come in and they take your intangible property right to your children. That's how they stop that. So they've stolen what? They haven't stolen the children. The children are still there. They've stolen your intangible property, which then you can sue the state for stealing intangible property. But you can only do that with a private membership association under its own bylaws.
Which is why you have the reason for the trafficking in court issue. I got that part. Now, just to recap, you're talking about the difference between the tangible property rights to the car and the intangible rights to the property of the car and the right to use it. Correct?
Yes, that defines stealing. If you do not have intangible property rights to the car, then you have stolen the car. As simple as that. So that's why all those terms mean something. And in PMAs, those intangible property rights are protected, especially in a trust. You have a trust in a PMA, you can protect those intangible property rights that you have to it because the trust owns it, but you have intangible property right to the trust and to the PMA under contract. And that's why these things operate, and this is how they work. So we're sitting here watching all this and watching people do what they do. Okay. But they don't really understand why they do things, and nothing's ever questioned. And these things are all brought to light with in the Genoa Institute and these classes and everything you're taking. So you better understand what you're not better. You better not like that, but you understand a whole lot more than you did. when it comes to property and ownership and that kind of thing.
James, where can people go to find out more information through the Genoa Institute, and so that they can get more involved with you and get more questions answered? I know there's a lot of things to cover, including more about the trust and the liens and change of title, and a lot that you teach and you train on. Where's the best place for them to go and get started?
Okay. You can go to the genoainstitute.com. I can't share screens, but you can go to the genoainstitute.com. And you're welcome to
Yeah, you
read
should
or
be able
listen.
to share.
Okay, you're welcome to listen to some of the videos we have there. Here we go. Okay.
Can someone please share the in?
Yeah, you got it. I got it. genoainstitute.com here. You can click shop here. Here's all of the stuff that we have. You can actually listen to all the Law of Nations courses too. We publish things, we publish documents for you. Commercial Private Membership Association with classes. You can come down here. We just need you. Once you click this, what we need from you is a name. You're welcome to read all this here, not much, but we'll need a name of the trust that you're wanting, so we can create it. We put it in the newspaper for you, and we create your logo. And the only thing we ask from you is that you copyright it. We don't keep any copyrights. We have no claim to your organization. So if you're sending us questions of saying, what should I do here and what should I do there? I'm very limited on what I can say, because I don't have the authority to run your trust or PMA. So you'll see me kind of back away a little bit, and then I'll tell you, okay, you're gonna have to ask that question a little differently, because I can't come in and say, yeah, do this with your trust, because I don't run your trust. I'm not a party to it. So what I'm trying to tell you is that there's a lot of people that will keep claims on your trust or PMA. We've even seen lawyers try to get, they get copyrights on it, or they'll keep it, or they make themselves trustees of your trust, make you the beneficiary, and then once you die, they take everything they want. You got to be careful. There's also a couple of people out there that are writing these organizations, and I've got a couple of fraud alerts, consumer fraud alerts on the Genoa Institute YouTube page. So be careful with those guys. On what they say they promise. They're not promising anything that they can follow through with. Okay. But we'll just need you to fill this out. We get this, and within about 3 days, you're going to be ready to go. You'll be in business. Okay. Now, if you have an existing business, we will do the same exact thing. You can use the name of your existing business if you want to turn that into a PMA. We'll get that done for you. Then what we do is we put it in the newspaper, and then you just take one extra step, which is do a legal notice within the local newspaper. It runs about $115 to $150, depends on how much they charge for it. But we'll give you the wording for that. The name of your company hereby does business as a private membership association. It's real simple. And you just give them your email, and that's the end of it. Okay.
Okay. And these private membership associations, you're going to talk about the legality of those.
As far as
Are they
Bobby,
legal? Are they
yeah.
legal?
The legality of a PMA?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Of course they are. Oh yeah. Your every one of the people in courtrooms, like a clerk, they run their own private companies. Those are all private companies being operated there. If we can mute out Bob, there you go. Thank you. And you'll see this association and that association, but nobody knows how to run them. And I've also seen them when they're talking, they don't know exactly what they're doing. because they keep putting state statutes in it. Like, why would you do that? There's no reason for that. So the ones we write and the ones we teach you how to keep your autonomy, independence.
Bobby has a question. Bobby Franklin.
Yeah.
I'm still learning how to work this thing. Anyway, what I want to ask, can someone please put the Genoa Institute links, invite links on the chats?
It's already done. They've already put that in there, so it's already
Okay.
on the chat.
Right, because I'm still bringing back all my stuff from my other phone. I had to switch everything over.
Okay. So what basically happens if you do that, okay, if you order one, it's about 3 days. You pay during that 3 days, when you can. And then we'll open you up to the classes on, we'll add you to groups, and we open you up to classes on the website. And you have about a year to go through the classes. Plenty of time to do that. If you're messing around in the wintertime and it's snowing out, just start studying. And all the documents are already written for you. So they're written in such a way, Bobby, you're clicking there. They're written in such a way where it will fit your company and whatever you're doing. And then you're able to add to what you want to add to it. And the bylaws. Okay. And that's it. You'll be, we'll add you to a Telegram group, and you can ask questions for the whole year.
Great. Thank you, James. Does anybody else have any questions before we end today?
Yes, I do. What if you mentioned about the boundaries, you put the private membership association sign over by your front door, or whether you put it out by the gate. Now, what if you have a right of way? Could you put that sign right in that right of way?
Oh, yeah, you're not going to be able to push people around or resurvey things.
Okay, so you can't, okay, so basically it can't be within the right of way, but it could be anywhere on the property beyond that.
Yeah,
Within the meets and bounds, right?
Yeah, I know what he's talking about, and you can't use it as a weapon. A PMA is used for privacy, to protect your privacy. It can't be used as a weapon to push people around with.
Oh, okay, no, yeah, I
or
wasn't
to
sure.
solve your problem. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because well, one of the issues I had is if somebody was over there to serve you and you happen to be on your property within the right of way, that's a right of way, so they can say, "Oh, here you go, now I can serve you."
Well, that just that all no, you could put that on your front gate. You're probably best putting that on your front gate or your fence.
Yeah, okay. I'm just a question that kind of hit my mind. Thank you.
Okay.
Tina also posted a link to a Telegram group where people can ask questions. So you can see that in the chat as well, for all those who have additional questions as well. Any other questions? Well, we have James here with us.
I just wanted to let people know I am working on an affiliate program. I've been looking around for like the last week and a half to find what works without paying an enormous amount of money per year just to use their affiliate software. So I'm almost done. So I just want everybody to know. You'll be able to, if you want to help other friends and stuff, you can, when you refer to them, you get paid for it. So, and when on your referrals.
I just want
Can
to
you-
say thank you guys so
Yeah.
much.
All right, no problem.
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm on my phone.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Okay. Hey, James, question on LLC. So if you had an LLC established already, and of course, that's going to be registered with the state and county where you're at. But you say you can switch that over to a PMA by doing the documents and also doing the public notice in the paper and also a legal notice. But that LLC that you went through the process, maybe you had it for a couple of years, you know how you have to re-up every year for that or renew that. Is that just, you just stop doing that? And you just keep the name that you had before? Like,
Yeah,
Okay,
you can stop
okay.
doing that.
okay, so
You can
everything
also
stops on their
do,
end.
you
Go
can
ahead.
also do a couple other things. This, all right, now this is going to take a little mind twist. All right, there's a little bit of a mind twist in this. Your company that you already have does certain things, so has certain responsibilities. What you can do is create a private membership association, and since it has everything on it, like all these EINs and crap like that, most of them have bank accounts. You transfer all of its responsibilities over to the private membership association. The private membership association transfers all of its treasury duties and responsibilities to that LLC. Okay. The reason why you're going to do that is because you're going to have that LLC collect all the money and everything else. People still write checks to it and everything else, but it's going to be on a voluntary basis. The people that are operating or working under that LLC, collecting money, doing banking and all these things, they're going to do that for free. So now the LLC doesn't make any money. Poor LLC. Everybody get what I just told you?
So in other words, you own nothing, but you control everything through the PMA and through the trusts.
That's how it works. It's simple. That way you're not actually changing much other than you write checks out to that LLC and it collects money for the PMA. It does the Treasury's job.
But that LLC will be set up with a Dun and Bradstreet number rather than an EIN number.
Well, you can do it that way, or if you already have something that's already established, you can just use that. So you're not losing anything is what I'm trying to tell you. The name is still out there. You're just operating as a private membership association, and then you can just hire your company to work for your treasury.
So
That way you don't-
basically,
Go ahead.
sorry, just to clarify. So basically the LLC becomes the treasurer for the PMA.
Yes. And its obligations to pay taxes and everything else are still there. So you fill out the forms, whatever need to be done for your company, but the company didn't make any money that year because it does everything voluntarily. Doesn't pay anybody, it doesn't make any money. The money that it gathers is the PMA, it belongs to the PMA.
Joshua Bradley, do you have a question?
No, I don't know why I'm not on mute. Apologies.
Okay. That's it, I guess.
Any other questions?
Yes. I want to know more about protecting intellectual property rights.
Okay, well, that will be, you mean, it's not intellectual property, you're talking about intangible property, right?
For example, if you were to publish something that comes from the mind, therefore intellectual property.
Okay. Just go to
So-
copyrighted.com. It's a free service. You can go ahead and do it there. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
up to 5 copyrights per month.
Oh, okay. I thought it would be within the PMA trust.
No, you don't have to do that unless you want to create a copyright or department in the PMA, and then everything that your PMA does is copyright in there. That's up to you.
And you can do trademarks just like you would a copyright as well.
Same
thing.
Same difference, yeah. You just publish it in the newspaper. That's why we do publications. It's a couple of ways of doing things, however you want to do it. what we do is we protect assets. That's what we teach people how to do. And that's what we do ourselves. So if you want your assets protected, I got muted. Did you give that to Tina? I think she was trying to get Bobby
He-
Franklin.
He was trying to mute Bobby, but it like moved at the same time. And
It's all right. Bobby, go ahead and mute out. Man. All right. Okay. Anything else before I go, guys? We didn't want to take any more time than we had to, which is the hour.
Well, thank you for coming. We appreciate you. And
I
we do
appreciate you
have-
guys, what you guys have done. You
Yeah.
guys are you're an accounting, okay, accounting process or organization, right?
yes.
Tell
Yeah,
everybody what you do.
well,
So-
we're with Professional Accounting Solutions, PMA. And so we are accounting advisors and CFOs, controller levels. So we provide a lot of accounting services from the bookkeeping, payroll, and CFO controller type services for businesses, primarily for the most part for dental practices. But yeah, we do work with other organizations and companies as well.
Okay. You guys are on the both groups, right? The Genoa Institute intro and the other one.
Yes, we
Yeah,
are.
we are.
Okay, so how can anybody here get a hold of you guys for what you do?
So if you are on one of the Telegram chats, my Telegram is Hope of God. So you can find me through that. You can also go to our website at theprofitexperts.com, and our contact information is on that website as well.
Okay, and I highly recommend that if you want to become a member of the Genoa Institute, what we do is also, and while we're doing it, is network with people. Okay, so the Profit Experts are there.com. It's right down there in the meeting chat. If the man that does professional window cleaning wants to network with anybody here, you have every right to do so. If you as a part of a membership. Okay, so that's why the Genoa Institute was one of the reasons why it was created. It was to create a network of people that all had services that knew exactly what you were doing and had all the legal issues taken care of. And then you knew you were dealing with some intelligent people if you're doing business with them. Okay. And then everything's going to be professional on the up and up. That's the goal. That's why all this stuff is so inexpensive. A trust that does what it does for $350, give me a break. I should have been charging $50,000 for that trust. And I'm not kidding. I'm not trying to inflate anything. What it does and the ideas behind it is immeasurable as far as the what it can do. We do $350 because a lot of people are trying to start a business and they just want that foot in the door. They need somebody to help them. And they want to do it. They just want to do it right. And they want to protect their family and everything else. So that's why the prices are what they are. A PMA, I can get anywhere from $2,400 to $28,000 for them, especially the ones that I write. $799. I mean, it's $699, $700. It's cheap because I want people in their business and I want to be able to say, go to the Profit Experts if you need any accounting issues. You got accounting problems, give those people a call. They're with us. Okay, we're with them. So you know you're not going to get ripped off.
Thank you for making it affordable.
Yeah, I looked at the prices on there and I was like, wow, that's pretty outstanding. And especially with the copy on the website. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
yeah.
blown away by the prices.
So you're like, oh man, thank you. Okay. So that's what I was thinking. You know, it's like, oh man, because you know the people in the membership and they're not going to rip you off. Everybody else is going to take care of you. They're going to, you know, that's what's going to happen. because you could just get a hold of the trustee here or anybody else and say, hey man, these people ripped me off. They'll be taken care of. Trust me. This was for good people, people that want to just do they're hardworking and just want to live, want to do their business. Okay. That's what this is for. So that
is
was the thinking
absolutely
behind the Institute. What's that?
That is an absolutely beautiful thing.
All right, then there you go, folks.
Sure.
So that's what this is about. And when we get people coming in like, you know, a guy calling himself Singleton, David Edwards, and they're just rip-off artists, they just ruin everything. They're ruining people's lives over a concept where they had the ability to do this, and they just didn't take it to that level. It was all about me, how much money I can make. It's really messed up. Okay, so thank you very much for everybody coming. Thank you guys, the Profit Experts, for putting this on for me. They helped me out when I needed it most, you know, needed a little pick me up, if you follow what I'm saying. So I really do appreciate that, guys.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You're really welcome.
We appreciate all your help with the trust and the PMAs. You've been a great asset to us as well. So
Yeah,
Okay.
we're learning a lot from you. We really appreciate it. And we just want to make sure that we can get this out to as many families as possible. You know, this is great because even on the tax side, people are saving more money through this PMA than they ever will through a CPA. So it's one of the best ways you can possibly go in both running your business, protecting your family, your home, your cars, your business, everything that you want to protect in your life. And so we really want to thank you, James, and we're going to go ahead and close the meeting, and we'll end the recording now. Again, if you have any questions, concern, would like to learn more, please go to genoainstitute.com. That is in that chat right there. And then also the Telegram you can see is in the chat there that Tina has provided. And if you need assistance with the accounting side of things, just go to theprofitexperts.com and you can get a hold of us, and we will be able to work together with you to help you with all those types of needs. And thank you, everybody, for attending. We appreciate it, and have a good day.
See you next time.